So we're going to learn a basic concept of environmental biology. So we need to understand every simple thing from the beginning to the end. Because this word environment is not a new word for us. We know this word. Every person, we know this word. But still, we have to start with that word environment. We learn in Unit 3, before life formed on Earth, that is 3.8 billion years ago, or 3.5 billion years ago, because 3.8 and 3.5 both mentioned in the resource book. From the beginning it is 3.8, but in Unit 3 it is 3.5. So we consider 3.8 billion years ago. The Earth consists of non-living things. So what are the non-living things? They are physical and chemical factors. The Earth consists of physical and chemical factors. For example, if we take water as a chemical component, sunlight is a physical factor. So we have seen so much of interaction between these two, physical and chemical factors, because we learned that in Unit 3, like a thermal vent, volcanic eruption, these things provide then the lightning. These things provide energy to chemicals to form. So we have seen so much of interaction between physical and chemical factors. As a result, later, then biological component form. Now we consider environment is again physical and chemical interaction is going on, but biological thing is formed later. That means a physical and chemical component of the earth does not need biological component. That means earth still live longer without any life on earth. Let's see, consider no life on earth. Earth survive for many years. Nothing will happen to earth, but survival and existence of the living things, it is very important. Existence of physical and chemical factors. So then our environment is physical, chemical, and biological factors and interactions for the survival of living things. Because we can talk about environment if there is a life on earth. So we can define it physical, chemical, and biological interactions for the survival of living thing. So that's very important. So whole lesson environmental biology, we're going to learn how our environment is important for us for existence of all living organisms, including human. So environmental biology, we're going to study the physical, chemical, and its relationship as different processes for the survival of biological things. Okay, before we go to the next level, the most important thing, again, we can tell is physical and chemical factors. So non-living things we call abiotic. And then living things are called biotic. So whole lessons, we try to look biotic and abiotic interactions. Biotic and abiotic interactions to keep the dynamic environment. So this helps us to learn everything, components of our environment and relationship to each other. So biotics, living things, animal, plants, fungus, bacteria, protist. Protist. So abiotic, we can consider soil, light, wind, water, all come under abiotic category. Okay. Just briefly, why it is important to learn environmental biology? So we're going to learn the changes in the environment. For example, climatic conditions. So there are climatic conditions, they are different. We have many different climatic conditions on Earth. These climatic conditions decide organization level of life. I think organization level of life, again, as we learn in Unit 1, it is just individuals, population, communities, ecosystems. Then after that, biome and biosphere. So this is the level of hierarchical level of organization, and different climatic condition decide organizational level. This organization level interact with each other. So when they interact with each other, we can identify different processes. For example, food chain. Food chain is example of one process in one system. So we're going to again understand what is the food chain. That's a processes. So when we're going to again learn different hierarchical level, we can also find at a different level. For example, terrestrial and maybe aquatic. So we have to again look this organization level at different habitat. Now, if we consider all these things happening nicely, the system and processes, we can consider all line at equilibrium stage. Let's say a forest which has no influence from human, the forest life exists for millions of years. There is no changes. All animals live at certain level. Plants, everything is living. If there is no environmental changes like big phenomena like floods or fire or big things not destroy this ecosystem, they exist. But we have a big problem now in environmental biology. The main concern is human influence. The human influence to this environment is massive. Otherwise, we don't want to learn a subject like environmental biology, and you don't want to learn degrees called environmental biology, Bachelor of Environmental Biology like things. They introduce these kind of a thing uh, to do some kind of conservation, to do some kind of remedies to preserve or protect the environment. So then environmental biology also include a human influence. So what are the human influence and how we prevent human influence if already damage done to the environment, how we reverse this kind of a damage. Then apart from human influence, there is another source of this kind of a thing, nature. So nature is again one factor which reshaping, remodulating, and restructuring the environment. For example, volcanic eruption. If there's a volcanic eruption in one area, the large amount of environmental damage can happen. So we also study what kind of natural disasters doing to this environment. So environmental biology include all these things, and during these lessons, throughout the lessons, more or less, without saying, we're going to learn these things. For example, we are not again classify, okay, different climatic condition. I mean, certain thing we go like this order. What is the climate condition of this place? And then what is the organization of life? What are the plants there? What are the animals there? And sometimes we're going to also learn certain places how this plant and animal interact with each other. And again, we're going to learn a terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem, and also human influence and nature influence. So essentially, when it comes to second part of lessons, when you're going to see our environment, different areas of the world, we actually look this level. What is the climate? What are the animals? What are the plants? And what are their interactions? And what is the human influence? So these are the main component we're going to learn in each kind of environmental areas. Right. Next thing, organization level of life. So we have learned organization level of life. Then we have learned that case element make the molecules. Then the molecules make organelles. Organelle make cells. Cells make tissue. Tissue make organ. Organ make organ system. Organ system make organism. Now that's a end of process of living thing. Now biotic factors are formed. So biotic factors are formed according to that hierarchical level. Now we are going to learn now from uh, from the main component, the main unit of life, that's an organism. So cell considered as the smallest functional unit of life. After that, the next level is the organism. We can also define at this level species. So species is also fine because species bring a unique identity to this level. So this species is a first level of individual. So this is the individual level. And in this case, one of the most important thing in biology, definition of species. So we have to remember again definition of species. That's a group of organism. They have a similar appearance, morphology, and they can interbreed, they can reproduce. After that, they produce a fertile offspring. Interbreed to produce fertile offspring. That is the acceptable definition in biology to define the species. Group of species, if they join together, then we make population. Again, the correct definition of population is one type of a species in one geographical area in a given time. So it includes one species, how many number of one species in that area in that year. For example, human population in global human population in Sri Lanka 2023. So this defines the population. Human is the species, geographical location is Sri Lanka, 2023's time. So species we define and population we define. in environment, there is no one population. So if we look certain environment, for example, where we live, we have many different species. So if we look around our garden, we can see earthworms, population of earthworms, population of ants, population of snails, population of birds, population of plants. So we have several species. So then collection of populations make the community. Collection of different species, we can say a collection of different species make the communities. So we see always community. There's no single existence of species in a one place. Now we are coming to another hallmark of this ecosystem. Now in this case, cell is one of the important milestone in this hierarchy, because cell considered as the smallest functional living thing. Then the second milestone is the species. That's why in biology, a cell species are very important component. Now, when it comes to the higher level of hierarchy, ecosystem. Ecosystem is also play an important role, and we consider it is a third milestone: cell, species, ecosystem. So what is ecosystem? Ecosystem is basically, we can define biotic, living, abiotic, non-living, and their interaction. And their interactions. So that's very important. So we can say collection of communities, collection of populations, and they have interaction with the physical environment. So basically, we can write biotic, abiotic, and interaction. So we can say many species living in an area and their interaction with each other. So biotic, collection of communities. So we're going to the next level, collection of communities, and biotic and abiotic interactions. Then the last thing is biosphere. So biosphere is a physical, chemical, and living thing on entire Earth. Whole Earth, physical, chemical, and biotic things. Everything we consider basically biotic and abiotic thing existing on whole Earth is a biotic level. So this is the organization of the environment. So organization of life, hierarchical level of organization of life, start to make organization of environment. As a result, this ecosystem-like thing definitions, I mean, it's not that difficult to remember the basic definition of these things. But when it comes to a ecosystem-like thing, we need a very clear definitions. So collection of communities, because the lower level is community, all the communities collect together, and their interactions with each other and with the abiotic factors is the definition of ecosystem. Okay, next we are going to learn again biotic and abiotic factors. So biotics are living thing. This include all 5 kingdoms: bacteria, fungi, protista, fungi, and animal and plant. Animalia, Plantae, fungi, protoctist, and bacteria. So non-living thing, it include all the things which consider as a physical and chemical factors. That's the air, temperature, nutrient, the edaphic factors. Edaphic is referred to soil, right? This word used in biology, edaphic factors, soil, consider the soil. So it's a whole geosphere and atmosphere. So we can also divide everything on Earth into three levels. The first level is the Earth. Earth is considered as a geosphere. And then living things on Earth is biosphere. And above this, atmosphere. So mostly atmosphere and geosphere, all the things we consider as a non-living. So only the biosphere we consider living things, biotic things. And we can see always interaction between each other. Okay, we also learned this in unit 1 lesson, the habitat. Under that, if you see unit 1 resource book mentioned about, habitat is a place where organism naturally lives. So we have several type of habitat. First one is terrestrial and aquatic and arboreal and aerial. So aerial example is given as slender loris. They live, these animals try to live on plants just like monkeys. They also live on plants. So birds, aerial, and aquatic fish, and most of the mammals, they try to live in a terrestrial systems habitat. So these are the habitat diversity we can find in the ecosystem. Okay, next component is niche. So what is the definition of niche? Niche definition is a specific role of an organism in environment. Specific role of organism in an environment, ecosystem. Right. The niche is a very important component because existence of the species and environment is possible because of the niche. Now, how we understand niche concept? If you look this picture, these birds occupy different habitat. For example, we take this bird called plovers. The plovers mostly far away from the water. So this is the lake. The plovers try to live a little bit far away from plovers. And if you take ducks, ducks is living in the water. So this is important because they have no competition for food. If there's a competition for food, then one organism can survive because stronger one dominate and the weaker one cannot live in this place. So if this is the case, biodiversity can largely decrease. As a result, the organism form naturally over millions of years. They have this adaptation. So adaptation is, in this case, ducks can swim, they can paddle, they have this the hind limb adapted to a paddle with a large membrane covered that area, so they can swim well and they can go deep to the water and they can get their food. But plovers, they have a beak, long beak. Long beak can dig into the soil to get their food. That's a anatomical adaptation. This anatomical adaptation gives a specific role. Specific role is ducks can swim to get their food. Giraffe can reach higher level of trees to reach their food. At the end, all specific role important for the survival of the ecosystem. Because if the elephants living in one area, elephant role in this ecosystem is very important, and it, let's say, easiest way to understand, elephant walk, when it walk it can destroy small plants. So that case we expect large empty areas in an ecosystem. So when elephant lives in an area, we can find empty lands. They control overpopulation of trees. So then the grass and other things can dominate in this place, and certain plants, they cannot grow up because it is destroyed by the activity of the elephants. So we can see throughout the ecosystems role of every organism. We are not going to define all species on earth. What is the specific role? For example, what is the specific role of fly? What is the specific role of ant? What is the specific role of cockroach? What is the specific role of mosquito? But all animals, they have a certain specific role in this environment. But certain animal, the role is very clear. Bees are pollinators. So we can see a very clear niche of certain organisms. So specific role of an organism in ecosystem is called niche. Niche is very important for survival because they have no competition and they make their own territory, they make their own area. With this area, they are well adapted. So they are important to maintain the balance of the environment. Even the flamingo, you can see it has a the height is higher, the length is higher, so they can go to the deep level of water to hunt the food. So they are all important for the existence of the ecosystem. Okay. Now we can see few interactions of organism in living things. Now this is living and living. First one is living and living, or biotic and biotic. Biotic and biotic. This is a predation. The organism, they are carnivores. They try to hunt herbivores. So this is interactions. As a result, the level of organism in an ecosystem balance. There is no too much herbivores. If too much herbivores, they can destroy the plants. So they can reduce the plants. If the plants reduce, then herbivores reduce, carnivores reduce. At one point, in an ecosystem, we don't see organism because when they have no food, they die. but organisms interact in a balanced way that they can live in this environment. In this case, predation